Okay, it's time. May 24th. Welcome to May 24th. Today we're going to talk about making your own good fortune. Sounds nice. I would like to make my own good fortune.
Yes.
Let's make some fortune. Marcus Aurelius. Of course, today would be a Marcus Aurelius quote, the good fortune. Thank you, Marcus. He says, "You say, good fortune used to meet you at every corner, but the fortunate person is the one who gives themselves a good fortune. And good fortunes are a well-tuned soul, good impulses, and good actions."
Cool.
Okay, a well-tuned soul. What do you think he means by that?
Living by some sort of principles, like like some sort of a Stoic principles. So you're not like, that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
So a well-tuned soul then is maybe like one who's like sorted out their perceptions on things so that they can...
That they know their neuroses and they know who they are in the way of like, well, okay, like, they're not confused about what this is or something, you know what I mean?
So they understand fact from fiction. And they
Sure,
understand their own like
whichever,
tendencies.
Yeah.
So
like
they're
well-measured
self-aware
person who's like, if there's a bad situation, they're not gonna freak out because they understand that life is full of bad situations and that's how they're reacting to things. It's not just like they're reacting to bad situation calmly because they're just lucky that way. No, they're like, they figured that out, they talk to themselves about it, says, okay, I don't want to respond this way, I'm going to respond more calmly, and now they're doing it. Okay, you went in there into this thing called soul or something and worked on it and adjusted it. So I see it like from there, like you coming from a good place of no ignorance. I'm not saying there's zero, but like the judge, like you're the, I'm the judge of me and then the other person in the interaction. So I'm not, it's more of like fair for everyone. And like these kind of principles, I'm seeing that to be what they're talking about, a well-adjusted soul.
Yeah, like a well-tuned soul is a soul that sees things the right way. They see themselves, the world, their place in this whole world. They see it.
Mm-hmm. Same. Yeah.
Yeah. Then good impulses.
Yeah, like using your logic.
So thoughts, maybe?
Thoughts, but then thoughts, and then logic is choosing which thoughts to plug in, and those are the good impulses in how I'm looking at it.
So like thoughts or even probably like bodily impulses. Like sometimes it's not a thought, but it's like,
sure,
it seems like my body moves without there being a thought. So it could be like an impulse in that way for my body.
Like it could be emotional impulse or some sort of a trigger impulse or whatever those things are, even intuition type of an impulse. But being more in tune with them and using them to your advantage, I would say, to choose the things that you want versus just letting them go, whichever. I would put that under the category of what is that?
Good impulses.
Yeah.
I would put like good impulses not necessarily as like manipulating a situation to get what I want, but like being fair and being like doing the right thing.
Yeah. So the first filter of being the what was
the well-tuned soul.
Well-tuned. So the well-tuned soul is like the first filter. So you have to have it in order to go to the next one.
Which is good impulses. And then the next one is good actions.
And then from those, then you start actually doing. And then that's in my opinion a lot of time where I not stop, but that's where my doubt comes in. Like I would say like, hey, I have tuned soul. Okay, I trust myself that ideas and all this stuff coming in. I make good decisions from them. Okay, let's go make that action. I go like, yeah, but what if my soul is not in tune correctly? And what if my there's this doubt where like, what if my thoughts that are coming in, they're fine, but what if I'm choosing the wrong ones and thinking now further that that's how it's supposed to be? And now I am in the place where the action gets, it's not like, oh, just do an action. Like, no, it's like, and now I need like a reassurance that is correct. And then I go do the action. And a lot of times I have no way of checking if those two things were correct before I go action. And then that stops me from doing the action.
I mean, I think it's always a guess, it's like...
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's no way of me actually contact anyone to check that except myself.
Yeah. And that process...
But I don't trust it.
That process is the process they were talking about last month in April with like getting our perceptions cleared up, which is the process of like double checking what thoughts come in our head, because a thought comes in and says, I'm a fact. And then my brain is like, oh yeah, that's a fact. But then there needs to be the second fact checker on top of that that's like, wait, I can't just believe it's a fact because it came through my head and it was like very adamant that it was a fact. And so I think the questioning part of it that you're speaking to is not necessarily problematic. I don't know if you're thinking it's problematic. It just sounded like maybe you were thinking it was a problem.
No, problem?
Or like you don't like it or something?
No, just observation of what I see, this chain of these three things, soul, thoughts and all that, and then actions. And as I'm looking at them, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool, figured out maybe, this is, I get it. But when it comes to these actions, yeah, of course I'm doing actions. I'm sitting here, right? So that was an action to come here, right? But there is a doubt about that action, and the doubt comes from not trusting those first two fully. Like there's something about like well, it could, and it's maybe the judge who says, well, it could be this way, but it also could be this way. So we really don't know until we actually make that action.
Right.
But what I am expressing is that it's difficult for me to actually make that action because it's difficult for me to trust these things and say, no, I just trust myself, let's go do it. I go like, well, I don't know which way, so then what am I going to just go do this action? And then the action also feels very final or something. Like thoughts and ideas can come and go, whatever, that doesn't matter. But once I change those or try to make actions out of them, now there is some consequences in it, or that's how it feels. And so then I go, oh, if there are consequences, I better think through it again and again and again. And then I go back there and new ideas are coming on, and new perspectives that are different from the original. I go like, holy smokes, well, which one is it now? And now I'm like, stuck in this indecision because I'm overthinking all of this. So there's something I need to look in there and see how kind of like maybe set up some sort of like a rule of thumb, like, hey, I checked that, that's what's available, this is also the decision needs to be made and action needs to be performed, it's due, this is all I have, let's go do it, type of a thing.
Well, and I think it's also about being okay with the fact that it is risky. Like making any action is a risk because it's like I'm not in control of the impact that action has on the environment. And so I'm always rolling the dice. And it's always just like, well, like if my well-tuned soul and impulses were so well-tuned and were so good, this action would probably bring me pretty smooth results. But I'm a human being and I can't always trust the stuff that is coming through my system, or I don't know which stuff is trustworthy. And so at some point I'm taking a gamble on it and I'm saying, all right, I'm going to make this action and I hope that it works out well because I put a lot of work into choosing it. Mm-hmm. Like I spent a lot of time like saying I'm going to do this thing. and that I have to be okay if it blows up in my face.
Yeah, I have less of a problem of making a decision from the lack of understanding that I have when the decision is due, right? Or the action is due.
That makes sense.
Because then I'm like, then the justification is like, well, I know what I know. What can I do? I gotta go do this. Let's go do it the best as I can, or best that I know how. But the ones that are the tricky ones is they're like, hey, it's not due, but you could make it a due. You could make that action to be performed today. But you don't have to.
Do you do that?
Well,
or do you normally wait until then it's due?
Well, no. Normally, it's this is what I'm saying. When it is not due,
yeah,
but it could be due based on if I know all this info. If I knew all this and had made the decision, then this task can go due. But my problem is that this is now iterative process going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and this never becomes due. Because it is up to me to choose when this is due, and
so
I'm choosing.
It's nobody else is putting an urgency on you.
Nobody's
There's
putting
no
an-
external deadline that's like this needs to happen.
That's what I'm saying. There's no external due date on it when I'm forced to go do that. Like Monday morning, I gotta go to work. Okay, I'm getting up and go do that, right? But like, when am I gonna release the next song? Well, it could be 3 weeks from now, but it could be 4 months from now. Could I do it in 2 weeks? Well, maybe so it's this very fluid thing, and because of that fluidity, if it's not on some sort of a schedule someplace on some calendar, then forcing myself to create the due date, then it's very fluid, and I see myself a lot of times to postpone and do it tomorrow, or not even tomorrow, just say, well, I don't have enough information, so I'm gonna go do other things where things are due, or where I have enough information to make the decision. And that is not, in my opinion, the most optimal way to do it, because I'm not letting myself to sit with this and understanding where the due date is, and creating some sort of a mechanism where I say, this is a due date. Let's go get ready, and then we'll execute with what we have. That I like in project management, in all of this kind of execution. I like that thing much better, but I'm not doing it in my personal life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Time to start, perhaps.
It's yeah, I get it. It's hard. Yeah. That's why like joining this mastermind was so useful to me on the yoga side of things, because it's like this game mission of every week. It's like I have to ship out this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing, and I'm pretty much everything I'm shipping out, I'm like not satisfied with the information pool I have in my head to pull from. Like I'm always like shipping something out and being like, oh, like there's a whole gap here. I know there's this whole gap here. Like I don't like this gap. But it's like, and so normally with that gap, I would do the same thing, which is like, well, let me not put it out there and like just hold on to it until I can fill this gap, until I feel secure about that. And now I'm like moving at a much slower velocity. And I'm also like not just moving at a slower velocity, but I'm also learning at a slower velocity, because of what you're saying is other things that are due or more urgent get slotted into my learning time. They get slotted into my thinking time, my planning time, my execution time. Mm-hmm. It's like I just end up putting off the whole thing. So I might justify it as like, well, I don't have enough information, but then like, well, what's the plan for me to now obtain this information and like put this information into use? And there's like, there's nothing there. There's just the thought that wants to be in control. That's like, well, you don't have enough information, so you can't do this. And then, I think that we all probably have those thoughts, and then or not like in that language, but those style of thoughts where like they come in as like the decision maker of the day or something, and they have some logic that they're using, and then the next thought is like, oh, okay, yeah, that logic makes sense. Okay. And it just like lets it happen. And that's why this stuff is cool that we're going through here, because it's forcing us to be like, wait, hold on, that didn't make sense. Call that out. That didn't make sense. Do something else.
Yes, great. yeah, exactly, dude. It's awesome.
All right. You ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Ryan says, what is the more productive notion of good luck? One that is defined by totally random factors outside your control, or a matter of probability that can be increased, though not guaranteed, by the right decisions and the right preparation? Obviously, the latter. This is why successful yet mysteriously lucky people seem to gravitate toward it. According to the wonderful site Quote Investigator, versions of this idea date back to at least to the 16th century in the proverb, "Diligence is the mother of good luck." In the 1920s, Coleman Cox put a modern spin on it by saying, "I am a great believer in luck. The harder I work, the more of it I seem to have." That saying has been incorrectly attributed to Thomas Jefferson, who said nothing of the kind. Today we say, luck is where hard work meets opportunity. Or is it typically flipped? Today you can hope that good fortune and good luck magically come your way. Or you can prepare yourself to get lucky by focusing on doing the right thing at the right time, and, ironically, render luck mostly unnecessary in the process.
Yeah, I mean, luck is I have read similar things about luck and stuff, and so my kind of my understanding of luck is, like it's not something that just comes to you. There might be something that just comes to you, like literally just by chance, but that's so rare. But I see in other things, in like even like trading or different things, you can position yourself in a certain business. Yeah, you can position yourself in a certain spot where that luck is more likely to happen or something like that. Yeah. And so now, could you just be flowing through life randomly and all of a sudden you appear, you arrive at a place where luck is abundant? Yes, and then you will be lucky, but you will also flow away from there once your luck runs out, if you will. Like there's this thing of your luck will run out. Yeah, because you're just going through through like a place where this luck is coming, or like this position of where the luck is more likely to happen, and then now it happened and you're thinking you contributed somehow to yourself. It's like, I created this luck, or luck rewarded me somehow. But
or they don't say anything about luck. They would just say, I worked really hard for this. And luck wasn't a factor.
Yes.
So there's always success is always like a mixture of luck and hard work. And sometimes it's hard to know like what life just like made easy for you versus like what obstacles you had to overcome to achieve something that was difficult. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't see it as like running out, because that means that like it's depleted. There's like a finality to that. Like, oh, it's out. I see it more as like a fluctuation. Like it's like an ebb and flow, and there's going to be periods where I'm more lucky and periods where I'm less lucky. And on the whole, I can probably expand the balance towards the luckier side if I am diligent with the things that are meaningful to me, and I'm diligent with the things that I actually want in my life. And those are the hard things to prioritize, because the things I want in my life, nobody else cares whether or not I have them in my life, and nobody else cares whether or not they exist in the world. So that's the difficult part, is saying, well, just because it's not important to anybody else right now doesn't mean that it's not important to me, or that it's at like the bottom of the list.
Yeah, the way we're saying it, like about like sometimes I'm lucky and sometimes I'm lucky, like it's like an ebb and flow. It comes and goes, but I see it that we come and go from it. It doesn't come to us.
Sure.
And that's the positioning, right? If you're sitting just here, you might never get lucky. But if you move over there, all of a sudden you might get lucky. So you or me really are moving towards luck or towards areas of luck. And now when we in those areas, and this could be actually a geographical place, right? Like if I'm open a business on this corner, you're going to be lucky and you're going to have an awesome business. Yeah. If you open it on this corner, you will not be lucky. So those are actually physical environments, but it also
you could be
thought processes.
You could
environments.
Be lucky in time. You could figure out SEO in 2003 when Google's algorithm was like fresh on the scene. You could be the first yoga studio to open up in a particular city, and those are in my opinion like did they position themselves, or was there a really like they positioned themselves maybe to be in business, to borrow money, to open there's
it
other
up,
positionings. But my point was that this is luck, and it's an example of luck based on time, like what time you show up to something. Because you were saying the space,
or it made me think of also like if you want to meet a celebrity, you're gonna have a lot better chance to do that at like LAX airport when everybody's walking out, versus in on the side of a road in Minnesota. Like you know what I'm saying? So like it is like geographical positioning, but also there is like positioning with mindsets. Like if I position myself to think this way, then I position myself in a place where now I might get more lucky.
Mindsets, and then in a related way, also there's positioning with skill sets.
Yes,
because mindsets are more about like my beliefs, like what do I believe is possible, what do I believe is helpful, what do I believe in all I'm capable of. But then the skills are like what can I actually do and perform reliably over and over again. And so
all of those, all of it, and there's probably more stuff, Cool.
Nice. All right, well, thank you so much for joining, and we will see you here tomorrow.